as you see the pallbearers ready to process out of the square into the Basilica. And we join the choir as they sing the Magnificat. Magnificat anima mea Dominum. My soul glorifies the Lord. Words from Luke chapter 1.
And a good Saturday morning to those of you who are just joining us this morning as we cover the funeral of Pope Francis. We are nearing the end of that funeral mass that started just over 2 hours ago. And as you just saw there, Pope Francis's body now being transported from St. Peter's Square to the cathedral where he will be laid to rest, the Basilica of Santa Maria St. Mary Major. And the casket will be driven through Rome. Hundreds of thousands are lining those streets to pay their final respects. We're told roughly 200,000 are in the area of St. Peter's there. Officials in Rome telling us earlier this week, roughly 500,000 expected to be around the area in general, as we see the pallbearers carrying that wooden casket. His final resting place, roughly 3.5, 4 miles east of St. Peter's. He will be the first pope buried outside the Vatican in more than a century, emblematic of so much. Tom Yamas and Thompson standing by. They have watched this service play out as well over the last 2 hours or so. And roughly 18 minutes of that service, Anne, was spent on a homily, and I'm familiar with the distinction between a homily and a sermon, but at times it sure did sound like the homily that was delivered by Cardinal Day, it sure did sound more like a sermon than a homily.
Yeah, it really sounded like a eulogy, Craig. It was a recitation of Pope Francis' pontificate, and I was struck by a couple of themes. One, Cardinal Baptista Ray made it very clear that Francis wanted a church for all. Todos, todos, todos is what he used to say, and that was one theme. Another theme was to remember the people on the peripheries, the poor, the homeless, and particularly the migrants. And with President Trump just sitting feet away, he quoted Francis saying, "Build bridges, not walls," and mentioned the huge mass he had on the border of U.S. and Mexico, which was a living testament to his plea that the United States do more to help migrants. It has been a wonderful reflection of the man. I think when they moved the coffin the last time, here where we are, we could see people who had been sitting on St. Peter's Square stand up. They started whistling like they were at a baseball game and applauding, and there is something so genuine about it. He would have loved that, I think.
You make a good point, Anne. There did seem to be quite the round of applause toward the end of the homily when the Cardinal said, faced with the raging wars of recent years, with their inhuman horrors and countless deaths and destruction, Pope Francis incessantly raised his voice, imploring peace and calling for reason and honest negotiation to find possible solutions. War, he said, results in the death of people and the destruction of homes, hospitals, and schools. That seemed to have been well received by the throngs of folks who have assembled there as we watch the casket of Pope Francis being taken through the Basilica. Go ahead, Ann.
I'm sorry, Craig. The other thought I had as we're watching him go into the Basilica for the last time was 12 years ago when he came out on the balcony and he had just been named Pope. And he took the name Francis and he bowed to the people and he said, please pray for me. And then today, Cardinal Battista Re saying at the end of the homily, now, Pope Francis, you're in heaven, pray for us. And I thought it was just a lovely bookend of this papacy and very indicative of the humility and the faith, the very deep faith that Pope Francis had.
Tom Yamas is also with us. Tom, you've been there at the Vatican all week. You have watched this play out in real time. What struck you about the service that's wrapping up here?
Craig, as we watch now Pope Francis's coffin be carried through St. Peter's Basilica, you have the 2 rows of cardinals there forming an honor guard as they sort of walk out, and they're going to start this procession. I'm reminded of when I was inside that basilica. I had a chance to go in. They took some members of the press in as, hundreds of thousands of people were waiting. We were able to go in, and St. Peter's Basilica is incredible. It is very opulent. It is covered in marble. These aren't things really that Pope Francis cared for, but what stood out to me is that you walk by masterpieces in this basilica, works of art by Michelangelo. But this week, people's eyes were trained straight on the altar where that open casket was, because all their thoughts, all their prayers were focused in line with Pope Francis. It was a stunning moment that people waited hours. The most people waited was around 5 hours at times, but it was a long 5 hours. It was 5 hours of standing, and they would just get a few seconds. But you talk to these people, and it was worth it. And they prayed for 2 things. They prayed for the soul of Pope Francis, but they also prayed for the future of the Catholic Church. And as we see those cardinals there, the next leader of the Catholic Church is going to be one of those men that's standing in those lines right now. Who it is, no one knows. Anyone who tells you they know, it's not the truth. Once the conclave starts, all bets are off, and you can ask any Vatican watcher, you can ask Ann Thompson, and she'll tell you people are surprised all the time, and the world may be surprised this next go-ahead, and there's a lot at stake here, Craig, especially for American Catholics. The Catholic Church in America is at a turning point right now, and there is a lot going on which direction the church should go, and it has been a tough two decades for the Catholic Church in America, and there still needs a lot of work to be done. Pope Francis was trying to heal some of those wounds, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
Pope Francis will become the first pope in more than 350 years to be entombed in St. Mary Major. Again, this is just east of the city. We're told that journey to St. Mary Major should take somewhere around 35 minutes. This is a look at the route, the funeral procession route that we're expected to see play out. We're also told that there are tens of thousands of people who are lining that route to say their final goodbyes to Pope Francis as well. He had previously said he wished to be buried in that basilica because that was the basilica where he visited before and after all of his international trips.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.